In a move that has reignited fierce debate across the political spectrum, U.S. President Donald Trump has once again hinted at the possibility of seeking an unprecedented third term in office. Speaking to reporters aboard Air Force One on his way from Malaysia to Tokyo, Trump said he would love to do it, leaving open the question of whether he could or should pursue a third term despite clear constitutional limits. His remarks have thrown the political world into turmoil, forcing constitutional experts, lawmakers, and the public to revisit one of the most fundamental principles of American democracy, that no president can serve more than 2 terms in office. Chapter 1. Trump's tease, "Am I not ruling it out?" When asked directly whether he was ruling out a third term, President Trump smiled and replied, "Am I not ruling it out? I mean, you'll have to tell me." It was a characteristic Trump moment, vague enough to avoid a commitment, but bold enough to spark headlines across the world. The president claimed he was enjoying his best numbers ever, and that his support base had never been stronger. These remarks, though casual on the surface, carry deep implications. They reflect Trump's continued belief that he remains the most dominant force in U.S. politics, capable of bending political norms, and perhaps even constitutional boundaries, to his will. Political analysts quickly noted that Trump has a long history of testing limits and pushing narratives that challenge institutional authority. His latest comments, they say, are part of a broader strategy to keep himself at the center of national conversation and his base energized ahead of the 2028 election cycle. Chapter 2. Too cute! Trump rules out the vice president plan. Some of Trump's supporters, and a few legal theorists, have floated a controversial idea that Trump could run as vice president alongside a loyal ally in 2028, and if the ticket won, that ally could resign, allowing Trump to return to the presidency. When asked about this possibility, Trump responded with his trademark mix of humor and showmanship. "I'd be allowed to do that," he said, "but I wouldn't do that. I think it's too cute. Yeah, I would rule that out because it's too cute. The people wouldn't like that. It wouldn't be right." The "too cute" comment drew laughter from his supporters, but also underscored a deeper political calculation. Trump may not want to appear as someone trying to game the system, even as he keeps speculation about a third term alive. Chapter 3. The Constitutional Wall, the 22nd Amendment. The U.S. Constitution is explicit about presidential term limits. The 22nd Amendment, ratified in 1951 after Franklin D. Roosevelt's 4-term presidency, clearly states, "No person shall be elected to the office of the president more than twice." This rule applies to both consecutive and non-consecutive terms. In other words, even though Trump's first and second terms were non-consecutive, 2017 to 2021 and 2025 to 2029, the amendment bars him from being elected again. Legal scholars say this clause leaves little room for interpretation. The 22nd Amendment was written precisely to avoid the emergence of a permanent presidency, says constitutional law expert Dr. Ann Holbrook. If Trump were to pursue a third term, it would almost certainly provoke a constitutional crisis. Chapter 4. Why the 22nd Amendment exists. The 22nd Amendment was born out of America's experience with Franklin D. Roosevelt, who won 4 consecutive elections and served from 1933 until his death in 1945. Roosevelt's long tenure prompted fears that too much executive power in one individual's hands could erode democracy. Lawmakers from both parties agreed that future presidents should face firm term limits. Since its ratification, the amendment has been respected by every U.S. president, even those who left office popular enough to win again. Ronald Reagan, Barack Obama, and Bill Clinton all joked about running again, but never seriously challenged the rule. Trump's flirtation with a third term, however, has revived debates about whether the amendment could ever be reinterpreted or amended in the modern era. Chapter 5. Could the law be changed? Theoretically, yes, but it would be extremely difficult. To amend the U.S. Constitution, 2/3 of both the House of Representatives and the Senate must approve the change, followed by ratification by 3/4 of the 50 states. That process has only succeeded 27 times in American history. In today's deeply divided political climate, experts say it's nearly impossible to imagine such overwhelming bipartisan support for extending presidential term limits. Still, some Trump allies have floated the idea. Conservative commentator Steve Bannon recently suggested there was a plan to explore legal options for a third Trump term. The American people deserve more of Trump's leadership, Bannon said on his podcast, War Room. Chapter 6. The Vice President Loophole. Legal, but impossible. Trump's supporters' suggestion that he could run as vice president also faces a constitutional roadblock. The 12th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, which governs the Electoral College, states that no person constitutionally ineligible to the office of president shall be eligible to that of vice president. In other words, because Trump has already served 2 terms, he is ineligible to become vice president, since that role must be able to succeed to the presidency. If you can't legally serve as president again, you also can't serve as vice president, explained Georgetown law professor Samuel Watkins. The Constitution is very clear about that. The VP is the backup president, so the eligibility rules must match. Thus, the Trump as VP idea, while entertaining, is constitutionally dead on arrival. Chapter 7. Trump's 2028 favorites, Vance and Rubio. Despite his own ambiguous comments about running again, Trump was effusive in his praise for 2 potential successors, Vice President J.D. Vance and Secretary of State Marco Rubio. "I think they're great people," Trump said. "If they ever formed a group, it'd be unstoppable. I really do believe that Vance, a former venture capitalist and author of Hillbilly Elegy, has become one of Trump's most loyal allies, often echoing his populist themes about working-class America." Rubio, once Trump's rival in the 2016 primaries, has since transformed into a trusted lieutenant in foreign policy. Political insiders believe Trump's remarks were both a show of support and a subtle effort to shape the post-Trump Republican Party. By endorsing these figures early, Trump signals his desire to maintain influence long after leaving office, whether through allies or through direct political involvement. Democrats were quick to seize on Trump's third-term comments as evidence of authoritarian tendencies. Meanwhile, constitutional scholars warn that even hinting at violating term limits can undermine democratic norms. The danger isn't that Trump will actually succeed in changing the law, said historian Robert Kagan. The danger is that millions of Americans start to believe that maybe the law doesn't matter. In the end, the U.S. Constitution leaves no room for a third Trump presidency. But in the court of public opinion, where politics often blurs the line between law and loyalty, Trump continues to thrive. His message to America is unmistakable. Even when the law says no, he's still the center of the conversation. And for Donald Trump, that might be victory enough.